This is Herring, a boy who now controls the future of the men-only nation due to his potent prince Behemoth. And this is Ra, the strongest person on the planet and the future queen of the girls-only nation. But she baited us in Herring. And so the story continues outside the promised land of Puzzle, where the elite swordsmen from both nations congregate to do some rice cake smashing. With Karim unable to win over the rice cake of Ra, the #1 swordsman of the wolves is busy slashing his way out of the woods, trying to escape some mysterious men chasing him. But then the Ultra Simp stops in his tracks, going from 69 to 0 as quick as possible, as he knows he can't outrun those pursuing him. And so Karim chooses to stand his ground as it's time to activate his Ultra Instincts, since he is the rank 1 man within the wolves after all. However, instead of activating Ultra Instincts, he tries his hardest to cosplay Zoro from One Piece, since he wants to be on a list of the best swordsmen in anime. With just the blink of the eye, he's able to defeat 4 of the masked men without breaking a sweat, but the battle is not over yet. After easily dispatching 4, round 2 begins with a boss battle as a huge man comes out of nowhere with a gigantic swing. Now it looks like some kind of battle relative to sword size, but Karim loses that battle again, just like when he lost to Herring's Prince Behemoth. Regardless, Karim is still able to parry the blow, but surprisingly, it seems as if he actually knows the man who just attempted to destroy his life. After a quick exchange of words, the two both step back, but the boss man starts talking about he was worried that Karim's skills would not be up to par after being stationed at a rural town. It's then revealed that the mysterious man is actually the captain of the royal guards for the wolves, who goes by the name Jinyang. Karim then discovers that this old man was just passing by, but then he decided to stop by and test the powers of an old friend after not seeing him for a while. However, Jinyang reveals that he's also on a mission to escort a royal representative, whom starts showing himself in the background. After getting closer, we find out that it's the same bad man from the palace that gave the former rank 1 of the wolves the sussy serum to make her crave banana trees. His name is Samunsol, and he's the head of the research department for the royal family. Meanwhile, Ra finally decides to let Herring show his banana plantation to her, so she tells him he has exactly 1 minute with her going starfish. She then says that during the entire 1 minute, Herring is free to do anything she wants, so she asks if the terms are good enough. For most boys evolving into manhood, 1 minute is more than enough, but this is Herring, the owner of the Prince Behemoth. However, Herring learns that when she meant anything, she meant that he can do anything, except sliding in the actual banana tree into its soil. So he decides to counter-offer like he's on Shark Tank, trying to negotiate a 2-minute timer instead of 1, since Puzzle is meant for rice cake destroying, not for turning banana trees blue. After hesitating for a few seconds, she ends up accepting the new terms, so now our boy has exactly 2 minutes to siege the gates of Ra. As such, he takes the opportunity to get as close to her as possible without violating any terms of the deal. And so he attacks, first starting with a romantic kiss and proceeding to continue further on. Surprisingly, the most important woman on the planet reciprocates his advances, almost as if she's hiding her true self. Suddenly, Herring abruptly stops, causing Ra to ask why he just randomly stopped. Unfortunately, Herring discloses the fact that 2 minutes are already over, and like a true gentleman, he sticks to his words. But maybe our boy might get lucky today since it's lucky day 7, so Ra starts wondering what the heck is the noise she's hearing. Eventually, it dawns on her that it's actually her heart beating super fast, so clearly she wants to break the terms of the deal. And just like that, Ra pleads for another moment, just like when you're on a win streak, so you tell your friends you can't stop now. Before Herring could reply, Ra unleashes her true self, so she starts aggressively progressing their romance. Now, truth to be told, I thought we were going to get baited until the end of the series, but it's actually starting to unfold right before our eyes. At the same time, Eden is busy in the other room with the blondie, as he's plowing the fields of the blonde wolf with his banana plantation. Eventually, Eden's machine gets tired from doing farm work all day, so his machine explodes, causing milk to start splattering everywhere. With Eden and Blondie basically finished, we head back to the other room, where we find Ra taking charge of the entire situation, like a true queen. After pinning Herring to the ground like a savage, she orders him to not move a single inch, but lo and behold, something else starts to mature. With the unexpected turn of events, you can hear the collective shout of the audience screaming that finally we get to witness Herring x Ra. Eventually, her face disappears as she whispers to Herring that she was right, the sound she was hearing earlier was the sound of her heart beating for him. She then rips off the armor of Herring as if he's just some kind of defeated wolf after an intense battle, causing him to mutter the words, "Wait." With Ra now looking like she desperately needs some water since she's thirsty, Herring starts getting worried for her, telling Ra that her words are totally the opposite of her actions. But Herring closes his forbidden mouth real quick once Ra tells him to shut up, claiming that he's the wicked one instead, almost as if she's astral projecting. With the turntables rapidly turning, the future queen begins to proclaim that her 1-minute deal is now officially revoked. And much to Haring's surprise, he witnesses Ra with his very own eyes quickly disassemble her own armor in front of him. She then starts talking in a slightly more provocative voice, telling Haring that they can do other stuff as long as he does not explode with her. After over 12 episodes, let it be known that today is the day Haring got to witness the twin dragons of Ra. With the dragons exposed in plain sight, Haring can't contain his rocket from blasting off into space and growing larger, so she starts wondering what the heck is rocketing into the gates. At first, she thought it was his arm being speedy, but in actuality, it's actually Haring's rocket blasting off inside its cage. With the banana plantation going crazy, Ra finally realized why they nicknamed Haring the Prince Behemoth, as it is indeed like Goliath. Things then continue to escalate as Ra is totally captivated at the sight of the Prince Behemoth, so I guess we have to call him the man now instead of my boy. Shortly after, Ra decides to gank Haring by instantly losing to her intrusive thoughts, catching Haring by surprise again, since she just instantly entered the rocket ship. Without any indications of her wanting to start riding the bike early in the morning, she sits on the rocket, asking Haring if this is the proper way you send girls into space. Before Haring could even respond, she decides it's time to try and engulf the rocket with her city, and somehow she instantly succeeds. With her city gates finally reached, she starts warning Haring to make sure she doesn't explode within the city gates, or else she will personally make him perish into the abyss. Unfortunately, it seems like Haring might actually make his first fatal mistake, as he can't handle how narrow the city walls are compared to every other city he's wandered into. Within a few seconds after, he makes the oofsy face, where he starts shouting that the cavalry is about to arrive unannounced, since he couldn't hold the line. Now today must be a glorious day for the Crimson Foxes, as they made Mount Eden and Mount Haring both erupt unannounced. Meanwhile, right outside Puzzle, Moose starts falling asleep, but he knows it's almost time for the couples to leave the Palace of Destiny. Eventually, they hear some noises coming from the doors of Puzzle, and it turns out that Moo's assumption was correct. The first ones out of Puzzle is actually Blondie and our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, with Blondie leading the way out. And right behind these two is the esteemed Lovebirds, the power couple that everyone on the planet is super invested in. All eyes then shift to Haring and Ra, since it is the first time ever that the #1 swordsman on the planet finally gave up her collar. After taking a closer look, we can see that she definitely left a mark on Haring, and the girls can tell whenever other girls enjoyed some nice rice cake destroying. With her lipstick on display on Haring's face, Blondie starts getting excited, wanting to know more tea about what happened inside. Blondie then starts going crazy, as she can't believe that Era is actually making the sussy face right after a rice cake duel. She then attempts to look behind her to see how Haring is doing, but the captain of the Black Thorn orders her to keep on looking forward. She explains that whatever happens in Puzzle stays inside the gates of Puzzle, so she needs to leave behind any lingering attachment. The higher-ups then smiled on, telling Ra to hurry up as they need to get back to headquarters first. With a surprised look still imprinted on one of the administrative heads of the Foxes, she orders Ra to buckle up, as today will be a long day for the strongest blade within the nations. However, Ra does not conform to tradition, as she decides to ignore everything said to her by looking back at Haring anyways. Haring then catches her stare as well, pretty much shocking both caravans, as traditions never get broken. After taking a good look at our boy, both Haring and Ra refuse to mutter a sound or a word before heading right back to their respective caravans. Yemi is then unable to fathom that their strongest blade just had to be smitten by Haring, just a random boy plucked from the country against his will. Meanwhile, Moo looks on like a proud father that didn't leave to grab some milk, telling Haring that it's okay to enjoy and take everything all in. The two intelligence officers also can't remove the smile off their faces, since Haring did not let down the entire nation of men. In fact, Haring achieved the opposite, as he will probably return back home as the hometown hero of all the guys. Fast forward to later in the evening, we find ourselves back at the palace of the Queen of the Crimson Foxes. A black thorn appears before the Queen, revealing to her that she has urgent news to deliver personally. And so she's allowed to relay the information, where the Queen discovers that the wolves have sent the official list of men coming to attend the Gomage. However, one person on the list just happens to be a man on the Crimson Fox's black list, whom happens to be Karim. Not only is Karim included to attend the Gomage, but much to the Queen's surprise, Haring is also supposedly attending, catching most of the Queen's attention.